golden lanterns flicker like fireflies, their reflections dancing on the inky currents of the Mekong. A riverside villa, alive with quiet elegance, hums with the warmth of celebration. Beneath the sprawling arms of an ancient banyan tree, whispers of tradition weave through the night as guests clasp their hands over bachi blessing strings, murmuring prayers carried away by the breeze. The air is thick, with the heady perfume of jasmine, mingling with soft laughter, the pulse of a timeless ritual flowing like the river itself. The architecture of us. A sudden slip, a gasp, a cold splash. The coconut tilts, its sweet water cascading in slow-motion betrayal. Kham watches helpless, as the liquid snakes down the worn leather strap of Nomik's vintage film camera, pooling along the ridges of its brass dials. Droplets scatter across the lens, distorting the lantern glow into fractured, liquid prisms. Nomik inhales sharply, her fingers clenching before she steadies herself. Her cold and cutting glare locks onto Kham, a silent accusation sharpened by the flickering light. "You architects," she mutters, voice taut as she dabs at the moisture with the edge of her scarf. "Always obsessed with structures. Ever think about what's inside them?" Her hands move with precise urgency, but there's a tremor in how she cradles the camera, something beyond anger, something closer to loss. Dinosaur Market is a maze of colors and sense-woven baskets, dried chilies and flickering neon signs. A shopkeeper shakes his head at the waterlogged camera. Frustration simmers between Kham and Nok, but then he cracks a wry joke about Mekong-proof cameras. Nok, despite herself, laughs. The moment is fleeting. A sudden shout cuts through the market's hum. A motorbike screeches to a halt near a stall stacked with dragon fruit. The rider face obscured by a dust-streaked helmet locks eyes with Kham. Recognition. Warning. Then, chaos. A metal crate overturns. A flash of steel glints under neon lights. Someone yells in a dialect Kham hasn't heard in years. A chase erupts, weaving through stalls and startled vendors. Nok clutches her dripping camera, torn between running and capturing the truth through her lens. "Move!" Kham yells, grabbing her wrist. Wat Phu's ancient stones drink in the golden dusk, their time-worn edges softened by the dying light. Vines coil through the cracks, whispering of centuries past. Noltink stands at the temple's edge, a dark silhouette against the saffron-streaked sky. She lifts her camera with quiet reverence, framing the crumbling Khmer stonework in her viewfinder. The wind stirs loose strands of her hair, catching the last embers of sunlight. A few steps behind, Kham lingers, not watching the temple but her. The way her fingers linger over the shutter. The way the light clings to her shoulders. The way, for a moment, she seems almost lost in time. Moonlight filters through the banyan roots, silvering the temple ruins. Nosk kneels beside a fallen carving, tracing the eroded face of a forgotten deity. The air is thick, with damp stone and frangipani. Kham sketches nearby, his pencil steady until it isn't. His gaze lingers, not on the temple, but on her. "What?" she asks. He hesitates, then turns to his notebook. A figure stands at the edge of a bridge, looking back. "For a home," he murmurs. "A place no one has to leave behind." Her fingers brush the page closer than before. Then, a snap. Too close. Kham's voice tightens. "Go. Now." Lantern-lit long-tailed boats glide across the water, their reflections trembling like spirits caught between worlds. The scent of river mist and burning incense lingers in the air. Somewhere in the distance, the mournful wail of a Kayan flute drifts through the night. Nok leans on the boat's edge, watching the lights ripple and break. "Sounds like a song from another time," she murmurs. Kham listens, his fingers tapping absently against the wooden hull. "It's a song of longing," he says, "of things lost, or never found." She glances at him, the flickering lanterns painting his face in shifting gold. "Which one are you?" His smile is small, almost wistful, still deciding. The music continues, weaving between them like a story yet to be told. Their boat drifts, caught in the river's slow, restless pull. Lantern light from the distant shore flickers on the surface, stretching and vanishing like something half-remembered. Nok watches the shifting water, her fingers trailing along the boat's wooden edge. "You believe in ghosts?" she asks, her voice barely rising above the murmur of the current. Kham exhales, his gaze fixed on the dark horizon. "Not in ghosts," he says, "but in what lingers." A breeze stirs. The silence between them tightens, electric, unspoken. Somewhere upstream, a keen flute wail. A note too sorrowful, too knowing. The wedding reception thrums with music, the rhythmic beat of the drums weaving through laughter and clinking glasses. Lanterns sway overhead, casting golden halos over the dancers moving in slow, endless circles. Kurunenkem extends his hand. One dance. Nok hesitates, fingers curling at her side, but then, something in his steady, waiting gaze unravels her resistance. She exhales and lets him take her hand. They step into the measured rhythm of lambong, palms barely touching, their movements mirroring each other. His touch is light, almost careful, but the space between them hums charged with everything they haven't said, everything they don't yet know how to. The music swells. Nok glances up, just as Kerfom does the same. Neither of them looks away. A neon streetlight buzzes, casting a pale, flickering glow over the empty street. The scent of rain lingers, trapped in the humid air. Cam's phone vibrates. He glances down an email, crisp and final. Visa approved. France awaits. Beside him, Nok checks her screen. 3 days. Cambodia. She exhales, tucking her phone away, as if that might change something. They stand close, but the silence between them is no longer electric or charged with possibility. It is heavy, inescapable. Kelham swallows. So this is it. Nok nods but says nothing. Neither of them moves. Neither of them says what they should. A neon streetlight flickers, washing the empty street in pale, uneven light. The air is thick, with the scent of warm asphalt and distant rain. Kham's phone buzzes. Visa approved. France Nok checks hers. Cambodia. 3 days. They stand close, but the silence between them is no longer electric. It is heavy, inescapable. A motorbike hums past, its red taillight bleeding into the night. Somewhere, a dog barks. The city moves on, unaware that a quiet ending is unfolding beneath its glow. Kham exhales, his voice barely above a whisper. So, this is it. Nok doesn't answer right away. The weight of unspoken things settles between them, thick as the humid night. She tucks her phone away. Looks up. Maybe not, she says. The neon light flickers again. A sign, or just another malfunction? Neither of them is sure. The jungle hums, alive with the chatter of unseen creatures and the distant trill of cicadas. Mist clings to the trees, curling around moss-covered trunks, thick with the scent of damp earth and blooming orchids. Their group moves steadily, boots sinking into the soft, untamed path. Kham and Nok's fall into step, their strides unconsciously matched. A turn in the trail. Nok stumbles slightly. Kham's hand reaches out, steadying her. Their fingers brush, just for a moment. Then, as if remembering themselves, they pull away. Neither speaks of it, but the space between them is charged again, silent, waiting. Thunder cracks, a deep, rolling sound that rattles through the cliffs. Dark clouds gather, coiling above Tad Fane's twin waterfalls, their white torrents plunging into the misty abyss below, endless, untouchable. Nok lifts her camera, framing the moment. The shutter clicks, freezing the chaos of water and stormlight, of something wild and fleeting. She exhales. Even captured, the moment will fade, colors will dull, and memories will blur, impermanent. Like everything else. Rain hammers against the tin roof, the downpour turning the dirt road into a river of red earth. The air is thick with petrichor, the scent of wet leaves and distant wood smoke. Nok's shivered, rain-soaked clothes clinging to her skin. She wraps her arms around herself, but it does little against the cold. Kham says nothing. He unloops his PHA Biang scarf from his shoulders and drapes it over her, the fabric still carrying his warmth. Nok clutches it instinctively. The heat seeps into her, unsettling her more than the chill ever did. She should let go. She doesn't. The air is heavy with rain, with the scent of wet earth, with something unspoken. Kham hesitates, fingers ghosting along Nok's jaw before finally cupping her face. His touch is careful, searching. A question. Nok doesn't pull away. The first kiss is light and uncertain. The second is urgent, like trying to steal time and holding on to something slipping through their fingers. Then, a sharp car horn. They jolt apart. Sompong's jeep idles at the roadside, headlights cutting through the mist. Reality crashes back in, cold and inescapable. Nolak exhales, pulse unsteady. Kham steps back, hands slipping to his sides. No words, just the rain, still falling. Back in Pakse, the night hums with distant traffic and the whir of a ceiling fan. Nok sits cross-legged on the bed, scrolling through wedding photos, each frame a glimpse of a night already slipping away. Laughter. Spinning lanterns, hands almost touching. Then she stops. Kham, caught in the glow of flickering lanterns, his gaze fixed on her. Unspoken. Unmistakable, like she's something to be kept. Her throat tightens. Nah. The laptop slams shut, the screen's light vanishing instantly, like a door she refuses to open. The memory drifts in, warm and golden. Twilight had spilled over the ruins, painting the ancient stone in hues of amber and rust. The Mekong stretched below, a winding memory ribbon, carrying time away with its slow, steady current. Kham had traced the edge of a crumbling carving, his touch reverent. Strange, he had murmured, how some things survive. Nolsik had stood beside him, watching the river. And some don't, she had said, her voice softer, almost lost to the wind. The breeze had shifted then, stirring dust and silence. For a moment, they had simply stood there between past and present, between what was, and what would slip away. The memory comes back in fragments, the weight of the night, the hush between them. Kham had pressed a folded indigo PHA sign into her hands, the fabric soft, worn, alive with the scent of earth and rain. The deep blue threads shimmered in the dim light, mirroring the endless stretch of the night sky. So you remember Laos, he had said, his voice steady but quiet. And maybe me. Nok had traced the woven patterns with her fingertips, something unspoken catching in her throat. She hadn't answered. Not then. The wind had tugged at Nolik's hair, strands catching the fading light. She had kept her gaze on the horizon, the Mekong stretching endless before them. I don't do goodbyes, she had whispered, the words barely there, stolen almost as soon as they left her lips. Kham had watched her, jaw tight, fists curled at his sides. The weight in his chest was sharp, unbearable, because she wasn't asking him to fight it, just to let her go. The indigo silk lay crumpled on Kham's doorstep, its deep blue threads dull in the morning light. The fabric shifted slightly in the breeze, as if still holding the warmth of the hands that had left it behind. Kham stood in the doorway, staring down at it, his chest hollow. She was gone. No note, no words, just this. He knelt slowly, fingers brushing the silk soft, familiar, hers. The wind carried the scent of rain and distant traffic, the world moving on. But Kham stayed there, unmoving, the fabric clenched in his hand as if holding it might bring her back. A lavender sky melts into the river, its soft hues mirrored in the water's restless surface. The Mekong carries offerings of floating candles and flower petals, their flickering lights drifting with the current like prayers, like memories. Nok stands at the river's edge, her bag slung over her shoulder. The weight feels different now. Lighter. Heavier. She isn't sure. The wind stirs, cool against her skin, laced with the scent of incense and rain-soaked earth. It carries the murmurs of distant voices, the rustling of leaves, and the quiet pull of the river. She glances down at the dock, half expecting, half hoping. But she knows better. Kham isn't coming. The candles drift farther, their glow shrinking into the night. Nok watches until they are nothing but distant specks, swallowed by the current. She exhales, adjusting the strap of her bag. Then, without another look back, she walks away. Kham arrives, breath unsteady, rain-speckled footprints trailing behind him. In his hand, a torn photo. Her, laughing caught mid-dance, frozen in a moment that shouldn't have been lost. The creased edges whisper of hesitation, of holding on too tightly, of letting go too soon. Nok's fingers twitch, but she doesn't reach for it, not yet. You said you chase sunsets, Kham murmurs, his voice quiet, careful. He lifts his gaze, something raw, something real in his eyes. Let me chase them with you. Nok lifts her camera. Click. One last photo. The river reflects them both, their silhouettes trembling on the water's restless surface. The ripples distort the image, blurred, uncertain, like an unfinished story. She lowers the camera slowly. Some moments can be captured, others slip away. Noel steps onto the bus, the door hissing shut behind her. Through the window, Kham watches, hands in his pockets, shoulders tense. No dramatic gestures, no last words, just the quiet weight of everything left unsaid. The engine rumbles. The bus pulls away. Kham stays where he is, watching until she's a blur in the distance. Just the ache of unfinished stories lingering like an echo. 1 month later, Nolak's fingers press into the fabric, deep indigo bleeding into her skin. The scent of dye and warm earth lingers in the air. She works in quiet rhythm until the sound of footsteps breaks it. She looks up. Kham. No words. No grand explanations, just the weight of time, of distance, of something neither of them could entirely leave behind. He smiles, soft, sure. Nok exhales, a quiet laugh catching in her throat. Some stories don't end, they find their way back. Nok's exhibit debuts in Vientiane, where the gallery is humming with soft conversation and the faint scent of fresh lilies. Among the framed photographs, Small Diamond Kham, sketching in the village dust, lost in thought. Small Diamond, their shadows, tangled on temple walls, inseparable yet undefined. Small Diamond, the old bridge at dawn, Two figures standing side by side, caught between past and future. People pause, admiring the composition, the light, the storytelling, but only one person will truly understand. Beneath the final piece, the caption reads, "Some bridges aren't meant to be crossed alone."